somewhere out there on that horizon is an impenetrable boundary which prohibits movement of jaguars and Mexican wolves and other imperiled wildlife which depend on their ability to move between the U.S. and Mexico.
We can check this road out. I haven't traveled this road. We can check it out and see if this could be a shorter path to the border.
Nobody disagrees on how this is affecting the environment. The only disagreement is on how important the environment is in the overall discussion.
You know, if you're a Texas tortoise, how do you get around 13 miles of fence? If you're an ocelot and you're crossing a farm field and you're being chased by a predator, it's not a question of convenience, it's a matter of survival.
I think that the issues going on in the borderlands are a complete mystery to most people in the United States.
Everybody ready? Yes. Here we go. Take off here and we'll make a left turn and climb up to about 1,000 feet or so and head down to the border. Perfect.
I'm always struck by the fact that when you're flying over desert areas from 20, 30,000 feet, it looks sort of like a wasteland, and you see these little green ribbons going through that really don't look like much of anything at all, but down in those green ribbons are some of the most perfect paradise spots that you could ask for, including, you know, right here where we're sitting right now.
What makes it such a fascinating region is there are 11 distinct ecosystems. From within an hour and a half, you can drive in any direction and you can be at the coast in the dunes, you can go west and you can be in Chihuahuan thorn scrub, you can go north and you're in woodland potholes. So there's this real diversity, this tremendous biological diversity.
Toughness and diversity. Animal and plants have learned to make it when few can.
The U.S. border wall with Mexico is the largest human construction that has been made to divide two countries, in fact, a whole continent, since the Great Wall of China.
This huge border, which is 3,000 kilometers long, has so many different micro habitats and microcosms that each place is affected differently by the wall. And in each place there'll be different species, both animal and plant species, or different soil conditions or different hydrology that's going to be affected.
We've seen that ecological areas or ecoregions, they don't stop at the border. You step from one side to the next, there's no difference. And that's the way the wildlife view it, and unfortunately we've set up a situation where we're creating barriers where there really are none naturally.
The solid metal wall cannot be crossed by deer, pronghorn, bear, jaguars, pumas, bobcats, coyotes, badgers, prairie dogs. Any animal that cannot fly is not able to cross that wall.
It's going fast. Late for work. This is the Huachucas over here in the U.S. And there's a mountain range over here in Mexico. And this conduit and all these little rivulets that form the San Pedro Valley, connect the two. It's all one thing. And if you cut it and divide it, it can't make it. If you got to walk all the way around something for a long period of time, and there's a limited amount of water, you're going to die. It's that simple.
Bighorn sheep, hopefully, are going to be able to move freely back and forth across this border. It's almost a necessity because of the gene pool. You need that genetic diversity mixing so that you don't have sinks in your population due to genetics. So these things are very, very vital, and keeping these corridors open is the only way that these animals can move back and forth.
A lot of these populations are endangered, and they're small populations, and they really have to have access to other individuals in order to have a healthy population, genetically speaking.
People just love this place. They absolutely love it, and you can see why. It's beautiful.
They're just cutting the road and the area where the wall is going to go into. So here you have all these bulldozers and all this work being done in a designated wilderness area.
The wall construction and operation, just the highway that the Border Patrol has to be driving up and down, creates erosion, and that creates silting. There's not a lot of water going through these waterways most of the year, and so silting does make a big difference.
It's very clear that the infrastructure that's going along with the construction of the wall is doing just about as much damage as the wall itself.
You could not get up every morning and decide you were going to destroy acreage and do the damage that they've done on that fence line.
In addition to the direct barrier that border wall poses for large mammals such as Mexican wolves and jaguars and Sonoran pronghorn, an equal problem is the funneling effect the walls have of moving human activities, motorized vehicles, the flood of human migration into what's left of the most biologically significant regions.
One of the things that this has done for me personally is it has really given me hope about humanity, because I have never seen this sort of unity. You have cattle ranchers, farmers, chambers of commerce, the bishop, the university system. You have everybody opposing this thing. Nobody wants this thing. I mean, everybody thinks it's going to be a disaster. How are farmers going to get their water? How are farmers going to get their pumps over an 18-foot concrete wall? How are ranchers going to get their cattle to the river to water their cattle? Yes, this is a huge environmental problem. But what about these people who are making a living? What are they going to do?
It's a big topic all along the border. It's probably the main thing going on. I mean, people are talking about the fence. And the strange thing is, it's very hard to find anybody that's for it.
If you talk to any professional in any field that has to do with natural resources, be it wildlife, ecosystems, water, soil, there's consensus that the wall is affecting all these natural resources in a negative way.
At first look, it appears that wildlife conservation is at direct odds with national security, in that wildlife depend on open corridors and the ability to move through the landscape, and national security depends on the ability to seal off our borders. We're not really at odds. There are dozens of alternatives that can be employed that strike a balance between the need to create security in the most problematic areas while respecting the needs of wildlife, many of which are teetering on the brink of extinction.
What we really hope to accomplish is to restore science to this process, particularly environmental science, ecological sciences, because the removal of scientists and laws from this process has allowed building to go ahead in a way that has no thought to the impact. And there are places that we've seen that barriers have been put in that, had there just been some consultation with wildlife scientists and with local people on the ground, they wouldn't have been built the way that they were. We have these environmental laws for a reason. They're there because we know that we can do major damage to the environment if we don't act thoughtfully about what we do.
If we are smart, we can protect both our borders and our wildlife. Doing so is not only important, but necessary.